Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Ukrainska Pravda tells us that Prigozhin, the leader of the Wagner Group, the mercenary group, the bad boys of Russia, the worst boys of Russia, because Russians, as you know, that's at least we've been told almost every day that are bad in general. So these are, you know what I mean. Tell us that Prigozhin called on Putin, the president of the Russian Federation, to declare end of war. And I looked over this article, which I will share with you, and see if we can find that, all right? And if we can find that, we'll analyze the request, or at least, you know, the call to declare the end of the war. I think it would be easier to call Washington in order to end the war, but anyway, Ukrainska Pravda, Friday, 14th April 2023. Wagner Group leader calls on Putin to declare end of war. Well, niet, I guess. Oh, was that a little champagne over there? I know he doesn't drink, so let me give you some. Huh? How do you like that food? All right, let's move on. Evgeny Prigozhin, leader of the Wagner Group, asks the Russian authorities to declare the end of the war and concentrate on gaining a foothold in the occupied territories of Ukraine. I think the Russians can do both, but hey, let's see what Prigozhin says. Prigozhin said this in a comment distributed by his press service. Let's quote the translation from Mr. Prigozhin. For the authorities of the Russian Federation and for society as a whole, it is necessary to put some kind of bold full stop in the special military operation. The ideal option is to announce the end of the special military operation to inform everyone that Russia has achieved the results that it planned, and in a sense we have really achieved them. We have ground a huge number of soldiers. Is that what I said? Yeah. Of the armed forces of Ukraine, and can report to ourselves that our task has been completed. Theoretically, Russia has already received this full stop by destroying a large part of the active male population of Ukraine, by intimidating another part of it that has fled to Europe. Russia has cut off the Azov Sea and a large chunk of the Black Sea, seized a fat chunk of Ukraine's territory, and created a land corridor to Crimea. End quote. Wow, that's a lot of things that are really well. Let's read a little bit further here. The terrorist, that's Prigozhin, claims that Russia can only, and I'm quoting, gain a firm foothold, cling to the territories that already exist. End quote. At the same time, Prigozhin believed that there is one problem that the war caused, and I'm quoting, if earlier Ukraine was part of former Russia, now it is an absolutely nation-oriented state. End quote. The military wrote an entire article where he the militant, he's a terrorist, now he's a militant, now make up your mind, where he reflects on the importance of Bakhmut, the leak of Pentagon documents, and the upcoming offensive of the armed forces. The occupier is against any negotiations with Ukraine and wants the forces of Russia and Ukraine to meet in battle. All right, now let's unpack this thing here, Mr. First, if this is the exact translation, I think it is a very, in my assessment, low proposition that Mr. Prigozhin makes. First, he is missing the point. I gotta tell you that. And the point is the 4 points. Putin and Russian Federation said we need 4 things in order to secure. That's how it started. Stop the war in East Ukraine, where our boys are killed, the Russian-speaking population. And then he said, we need security guarantees to the Russian Federation. How do we do that? No NATO in Ukraine. Well, is that achieved, Mr. Prigozhin? I don't think so. First one. The second, demilitarization of Ukraine. Did that get achieved. No, that's not achieved. And if they stop where they are, the West will militarize the Ukrainians more. The denazification of Ukraine, how we want to call it. You can't denazify a country if you still have the same guys in charge. All right? And the same guys say, no, we're not, we're good. Right? And the other one is making sure that those territories that now are in the possession of the Russian Federation are secured under and recognized, or at least secured from not being attacked by the other ones, which is not, because the guys will not say, okay, you stop the war and we stop it as well. No. This should be from both sides. So even if Putin says, okay, we're done, the other guys will not be done. And the other guys will have time, being the, NATO and all those guys, to bring more weapons in Ukraine, get these guys stronger, and then what do you think, they're going to let them just be? No, they're going to try to get those territories back. So I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Here you have a, how should I put it, you already woke up the tiger, and it's attacking you. So you can't say, you know what, take it easy right now, I don't want to fight anymore. It's not like that. It's on. And it's not that the Russians can stop whenever. Those guys have big plans for Russia. And Mr. Prigozhin seemed to ignore that. Do you know who's going to pay the reparation for the whole thing? Who's going to be given the bill? Prigozhin or Russia per se? And they are not going to stop there. They don't want the fight is not about those territories. The fight is about Russia's resources, Russia's nuclear arsenal, Russia's political system has to be turned into what Europe is. A vassal state. So I don't know, Mr. Prigozhin thinks that if the Russians stop, the other one will say, okay, well, let's pick up the pieces and be friends from now on, or we're not going to talk to one another. No. And he makes some mistakes in his, if that's really, those are his words, he makes some mistakes. I would not make those mistakes, and I would tell you how a Russian, a little bit more sophisticated Russian, maybe not even sophisticated, will not say the Ukrainian territories, would not mention that. Say, no, those are Russian territories. That's how they would look at it. Do you think that Russia looks at Zaporozhye, Kherson, Luhansk, Donetsk, Crimea as Ukrainian territory taken? No, they don't look at them like that. They look at those territories of being Russian territories that were given to Ukraine, somehow Ukraine got them, and now we just get them back. Those are not Ukrainian territories. That's how a Russian probably would think about it. So I don't know what Prigozhin is talking about when he uses over there, we got enough Ukrainian territory. I don't think that's the right translation. I think that's a weasel translation. But hey, if he made that from the point of view of the Russians' confusion, then I don't know what to tell you. So let's go back and analyze those little semantics. He says here, for the authorities of Russian Federation and for society as a whole, it is necessary to put some kind of full stop in the military operation. Yes, okay, for the society and the whole. No, because the other side will not stop, will still bomb the society that you're talking about. The ideal option, so this is his ideal option according to Ukrainska Pravda, is to announce the end of the military. Okay, you announce it, and the other side will say, okay, we appreciate that, thank you very much for visiting, to inform everyone that Russia has achieved the results that it planned, but it didn't. And they're not idiots. It didn't achieve anything. And they didn't even achieve the territorial liberation of the Russian territories from Ukraine. Let's put it from the Russian perspective. So what are you talking about? They didn't achieve anything. And in a sense, I don't like this, in a sense, it is or it's not. The in a sense is, we can look at it that way. No, I don't want to look at it that way. I want to look at the real. We have really achieved them. No, you didn't really achieve anything. Stop. I'm not saying they should keep going, but they can't stop. They cannot. It's like a tiger that you grab by the balls. Let it go, and then it's gonna whip you with his cock. We have ground a huge number of soldiers of the armed forces of Ukraine. That's true, and can report to ourselves that our task has been completed. Like what? Like killing a lot of Ukrainians was your task from the beginning? Is that demilitarization? Is that what you're talking about? I don't know what. This is very illogical here. In my view, theoretically, when you say theoretically, it's like I say basically. Basically, we are, like everybody else. No, basically, or technically. When I hear the guy, no, it is or is not. No, I don't want to hear theoretically, technically. No. Basically, these are weasel words. We are or we not. Russia has already received this full stop by destroying a large part of the active male population of Ukraine. Missed the point, I guess, by intimidating another part of it that has fled to Europe. And your point is that the guys are going to stay there in Europe. Some of them will, some of them will come back. And who left? The male population? They were not allowed to leave. What are you talking about, Prigozhin? Russia has cut off the Azov Sea and a large chunk of the Black Sea. Seized a fat chunk of Ukraine's territory. Now this one, he could be, court-martial for saying something like this. Seized a fat chunk of Ukraine's territory. No, I don't think they could see that way. A Russian wouldn't say, Ukraine territory. No, that's Russian territory. We just got it back. That it was temporarily taken by those guys. And created a land corridor to Crimea. That's true, but that's not the whole thing. The terrorist claims, okay, this is what these guys are saying. He says, and again, I'm quoting Prigozhin, if earlier Ukraine was part of former Russia, now it is an absolutely nation-oriented state. So that's a bad thing. So what did you achieve? Bad thing from the Russian perspective, obviously. I doubt that that's what he said. And if that's what he said, then I made my analysis here. Good or bad, I'm just looking at it as how can you call that? I'm looking at it this way. Let's say Hungary and Romania, they have a problem with Transylvania. Transylvania right now is part of Romania, okay? And do you think that, let's say, the Hungarians, if, let's say, there would be a war and the Hungarians go and get parts of Transylvania back, that's how they view it, and I'm not going to go into it. I'm just giving an example. Do you think they're going to say, well, we seized a big chunk of Romanian territory? Is that how do you think they're going to say it? We're going to say, no, we just took back part of our territory that was in those guys' hand grip. Huh? I mean, really. So I guess he doesn't tell Putin anything, because I don't think if those were Prigozhin's words, I don't think he really understands the point of this, the whole thing. I mean, the whole thing is at least 4 points that for the reason why Russia did what it did. None of those were achieved. None. Not even the complete takeover of the Russian territories. Not even that. Because they're still fighting for it. And do you think that if they would stop right now, the other guys gonna just say, okay, we're good with that? It's 1-1, break time or something? No. And it's not over. It's not over. It's gonna be some time, and then when they get this enough, they're gonna come back and they're gonna start where they left it. And that's it. And for the society as a whole, do you think the Ukrainians would not receive more weapons? They would be able to hit inside the new territories, which now are Russian territory per se, because they're part of Russia? No, I don't know what these guys are talking about. I don't even want to believe that those were his words. If those were his words, then thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.